Now, South Africa's small business community has become a victim of unfortunate events in the recent past, from unrest last July, floods in some provinces in April this year, unending load shedding, and now crippling fuel hikes. Joining us now for more insight into how SMEs are coping under these harsh economic conditions is Small Business Institute CEO Dludlu, who tells me that he's also now become an Uber driver, because you've got to make money somewhere, right? And as many sources of income as possible. But listen, John, on a much more serious note, how many SMEs do you think will be crippled and maybe even shut down due to the lack of energy supply reliability?
Tabo, thank you so much. I only own Ubers. I don't drive them yet, but I think I'm perilously close to driving them as well, because of the high rising cost of living crisis. But so we are still counting the cost of the current round of load shedding, which seems to be unabated and escalating. But in 2020, when we're hit with COVID, let's not forget where we were at the time. We had recessionary conditions, we had red tape, crippling red tape, and we had late payments to small businesses as underlying conditions before COVID came. It was estimated towards the end of the year that as many as 50,000 SMEs may not make it through the period of COVID-19. And at the time, it was the first phase, the first wave of COVID-19. It was before the second wave, which would come towards the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. So let's put this into context. The National Development Plan, which is our blueprint as a country, says we must, by 2030, be creating 90% of new jobs from the small business segment of the economy. And the CEO initiative says to achieve the aspiration of the National Development Plan, we need to be creating 39,000 sustainable SMEs on a yearly basis. So if you take out in 1 year 50,000, 55,000 SMEs, you have set back that aspiration by a year at least. Then we go into 2021, another year of very hard lockdowns, very erratic low power supplies as well. So the situation would have worsened instead of recovering and alleviating. So where we are now is we are hit with three things which are new. First, the mayhem of 2021, July, a very sad anniversary this month. Second, it is obviously the continued and worsening power, energy insecurity, which has no end in sight. And then the third one, of course, is two things that are happening almost at the same time. The rising cost of living, the rising cost of capital, as well as the fact that the inflation monster is on the resurgence and is wreaking havoc everywhere.
Is the impact likely to be the same throughout? I mean, for example, if you look at KwaZulu-Natal, it's the July unrest, it's the floods now. Of course, it's the hikes. They are still kind of being pardoned from load shedding at this particular point. But, of course, the power is down there because some infrastructure is currently broken. And then you've got the Western Cape, Cape Town in particular, where they've got this Steenbras kind of intervention, the hydroelectric plant there that is currently assisting in terms of capacity. Is that going to present an uneven picture?
It is definitely presenting an uneven picture. So I went down to see my daughter in KZN 2 weeks ago. And as I was leaving the province, two things were happening at the same time. The first one is on my way there, I had to spend 15 hours for an ordinary 6-hour drive to go and see her. Why? Because of the lawlessness and disorder on the artery called N3, because of the truck drivers that law enforcement agencies could not foresee, could do nothing about, and then they were diverting traffic into badly maintained infrastructure, roads around R74. Bad for tourism, bad advertisement for international tourism and for our country. Then the second one that was going on, as I was leaving to come back to Johannesburg, there was an announcement that KZN, especially areas around Durban, must brace themselves for at least 5 hours of water cuts every day for the rest of the year. So fragile industries like tourism sector, which was just about to recover, have been denied that opportunity to recover. So you can open the beaches, yes, fine, but people cannot have access to restaurants and tourism establishments. Why? Because of these water cuts. Yes, Cape Town has front-footed all the measures like interventions such as to alleviate and provide some relief to households and firms at the same time. But the rest of the country is settled with, sadly, stage 6. We don't know where it's going to next.
Yeah. What's the way out? I mean, how many businesses are able, for example, to find their way out of reliance on Eskom, and what option do they have?
We are breaking. I don't know if
all right.
this is attributable.
I'm saying what is the way out? What is your prediction here? Not many businesses, I would presume, are able to win themselves out of a reliance of Eskom or even municipal infrastructure. What is their option?
3 things, Thabo, that have to happen, in my humble opinion. The first one is, obviously, we have to hasten and accelerate all the public policy measures that we have been talking about that have been ignored up until now. The first and only one, which is important, is to alleviate and lessen the burden on the national grid on power generation and bring in new alternative sources of supply. But new alternative sources of supply do not mean that we only have to cater to big business segment of the economy. We must cater to all South Africans. If you resolve problems for the small business segment of the economy, you are resolving them for the big business segment of the economy, as well as households and other consumers of electricity. So it is insufficient to say you can generate your own 100 megawatts, because the only people who have got the luxury of generating their own are the big business segment of the economy. That has been delayed. It is coming now. But second and related to that is that the licensing of new energy sources is taking incredibly long. It has to be streamlined. We are in a crisis situation. So the third and the last one, Thabo, is we need adults back in the room. Adults have left the room. The squabbles that are going on between the Minister of Renewables and the Minister of Coal are completely inexcusable in the middle of a crisis.
John Dludlu, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much for bringing that intervention for us tonight. That is the Small Business Institute CEO, John Dludlu, there on some of the 3 things that would need to be done right now, particularly to assist small businesses.